we're doing our fall health series this evening with Dr. Lewis. We're going to be talking about bone and joint health, possibly tying in some homeopathics and some fish oil. I work over in the other side with Jake. My name's Amy. I know I've talked to a lot of you before. I will turn it over to you now. All right.
Welcome to the fall series. We'll be kicking off. Hello to everybody. Tonight we will be, of course, talking about bone and joint. And we're going to be giving you some answers. We're going to slow it down because I think the last time I did 60 some odd slides and at the library I had to cut it back, so I began to realize I get too gabby. So we're going to slow it down. But welcome to Nature's Ways sponsoring this, and I'm glad you came. All right, let's go to the next little slide. And are we off the chart here? Let me fix that. Ooh, there we go. That was easier. 46 million adults in the U.S. have some kind of arthritis, and there is more types of arthritis than osteo and rheumatoid, as they call it, RA. But by 2030, which is really, well, I plan on being here, 67 million Americans of the age of 18 or older, not just over 65. That's a lot of people are going to have arthritis. We're at a little over 300 million, 67 million. That's terrible. This is like an epidemic. 2/3 of the people that have arthritis, guess what? They're not over 65, they're under 65. So it is not an old age problem. That's what I was trying to get at. It's about something else. 2003, arthritis and rheumatic conditions in the U.S. cost $128 billion to the economy. Or you can look at it another way. It makes today, it makes orthopedic surgeons $475,000 salary a year. That's what happens. We can tell you how much it costs, but we aren't telling you where it goes, right? Now this is in the existing medical model that we are seeing this happen. Are we getting better? Or are we getting worse? When I was on the board to fight cancer, when I quit, and I pulled all my plaques out of the trash because I thought I better have the t-shirts to show stuff, to let you know that, yeah, I've been on the board to hand out money to fight cancer. They have told me eventually in my 3rd year there, they had no plans to cure it. They have no plans to cure arthritis, people. They're not planning on fixing this. It's getting worse instead of better, and it's not because our country has more people, because we're having the baby boom's over. Is it increasing because we're hitting 65 as baby boomers? I just told you it wasn't, right? It's a condition that's hitting younger and younger people. Let's go to the next one. Go ahead and hit, oh, there we go. Wow, it keeps wanting to slide over, huh? There we go. And pretty soon you'll be throwing it off the table. I wrote a paper when I was teaching the honors program in pre-med and nursing up in Michigan called The Broken Existing Medical Model, and I will have to tell you I stole a lot of my thought and information from Dr. Rao, who I studied under at the Paracelsus Hospital in Switzerland. But Americans' existing medical model relies mostly on 2 things: drugs and surgery. Now you might say radiation, but They don't use that for arthritis, or I would have thrown it in. But here's the two things, right? Let's go to the next one. So tonight, we're going to talk about arthritis in ways you may not have heard, or you may have heard, or may know a lot about, but we're going to talk about options, and these options are no or low risk. And why I mean maybe a little bit of a risk. You might get an upset stomach taking glucosamine or something like that if you haven't eaten. That's nothing like the side effects that make the number 3 death rate in America come from drugs that are handed out to the wrong people, or the wrong drug to the right people. So tonight we're going to talk about options, about your bone and joint health. So let's get started and talk about joints. And we're going to talk about bones. We're going to talk about what makes them up. Well, first of all, cartilage and bone are a specialized kind of connective tissue. They both come from the mesoderm and the mesenchyme, which we won't get into, but it's different types of tissue. And there's a major difference is that cartilage is avascular and bone is vascularized. Let me tell you how this is in non-medical terminology. Cartilage does not get very good circulation. Cartilage doesn't get blood supply to it very easily. So cartilage is hard to repair then, would it be? Bone, on the other hand, is where blood's made. Break a bone and it'll bleed because there's blood vessels all through it. So one has, the A means not. No vessels in cartilage. In fact, talking about cancer, they have something called an anti-angiogenesis factor that they give people to keep blood supplies from creating new blood vessels to cancer tumors. Why that happens is because cancer tumors send out a little message over to a blood vessel. It taps on the wall of the blood vessel and says, give me your blood vessel. It will create a new vessel and it will start growing off the side of an existing one. Wow, did you know that? Because a tumor can only get so big without blood supply. So then it has to create a way of feeding itself. Like a vampire, it sends out this chemical substance to make your blood vessels start growing to come up to that tumor. Cartilage is not able to be vascularized. Sorry, I'm having my word for tonight. It won't grow blood vessels. Why? Because there is an anti-angiogenesis factor that keeps the blood vessels out of cartilage. That's why when you have somebody in therapy for tumors that are cancerous, not just cancer, but tumor, like a big ball of cancer, they will give them shark cartilage. And you've probably heard of a book that says sharks don't get cancer. You heard of that? Sharks they don't get cancer. So the reason is sharks basically just one big cartilage with some muscles attached, moving all the time. So they use the concentration off shark cartilage to keep that blood vessel from making new ones and going over to the tumor. But shark cartilage does other things too. So we have to kind of keep that in mind. And in order to kind of figure out what's going on, we got to go to this picture. And if you'll notice over here on the left, you have a bone to top. And then you have this thing on the very left side, and I don't have my pointer tonight. But up here at the top, it says bursa. Right here is the bursa. Have you ever heard of bursitis? When it gets inflamed, that's what's inflamed. It's a pocket. Over on the right, you will see that the joint has something around it called a joint capsule. It's a membrane. And it's going to hold a bunch of stuff in there, primarily something called synovial membrane, fluids. And these fluids kind of make it slick and less friction on the joint, keep it lubricated. So, these moving joints contain synovial fluid. And these complex joints that you can get into are made up of a joint cavity and the capsule and a membrane that's holding this fluid in. And I want you to make note of this word right here. Hyaluronic acid is the fluid that's in that joint that lubricates the joint. Okay, let's go to the next one. So, when we begin to look at arthritis, and we're going to be fixing that thing on the left, called the joint. Yeah, you don't have to pull over that far if you don't want to.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about how we repair cartilage, how we put the fluid back, how we repair damaged bone. So there's 3 different kinds of things going on in joint repair. The bone damage, the cartilage damage, and replacing the fluid. So over on the right-hand side of this picture, I have something at the very top. Can you read it all? You'll need to pull it over to the right. I don't know why it's doing that, but anyway, here we go.
Okay.
Arthritis is a nutrient deficiency disease. It's not because you get old. All of us have made mistakes, but we can't hardly be blamed. Because who's fed us? An industry we've not got a contract to make sure they feed us good food. You have a phone contract, you have a phone, right? You have a contract, don't you? They have to provide you something, you give them something back. You have that in writing. Can you live without your phone? Can you live without groceries and food? How come we don't have a contract for that? Why have we let the food industry get off? Why in this most essential area have we not held their feet to the fire and said, hey, give me food that's nutrient dense? It's been missing. Not even a thought comes to most people's mind. I never thought of that. Why do I have contract for things that aren't even worth? I mean, can you even live without a car? Sure. Do you have a contract to buy it? Usually. Tons and tons of contracts. But you don't have one to live by having them make sure they deliver food. Now, if you've been exposed to the organic world, farmers markets most of the time have something called CSAs. That's called Community Shared Agriculture, where you pay somebody ahead of the season to grow your food. You make a contract for it. Isn't that nice? Most of the time it might involve a little hoeing too, helping them get those things harvested. But there's some things that we need to do to keep out of this problem and to get fixed. Number 1, we have to support the abilities of the body to fix next. It's back to the other side. But go back. I wasn't through. I was still being Gabby. We have to enhance our body's ability to fix itself. We can do that. There's 2 primary things that we're going to do in order to do that. We're going to nutrify the bone and the joints. We're going to give them nutrients. Now, lots of things happen in our lives. We can have accidents. We can have something else happen in our body that causes us to have problems that lead to nutrient deficiencies that then cause us to have this problem. They have to be rectified. But I'm just going to focus tonight on the nutrients directly related to the joint, in case it's just that thing alone. So, the next thing, though, we have to do is remove the inflammation. And that mostly comes from what you put in your mouth. I think I'm going to surprise you tonight at the end of this lecture with a list of what's inflaming you. I think you're going to be really surprised. You're going to be flabbergasted with some of it. Next one. Can you hear my squeaky shoes tonight? My Nikes have turned squeaky. It's going to be in the video. Can you take squeak out? Squeak? Squeak?
Yeah.
Okay. How to feed our bones and joints. The cartilage, see, is made up of some nutrients. So what are they? Let's look at them right here. Glucosamine sulfate. It creates all kinds of connective tissue. We're going to talk about it. Chondroitin Sufate. It works on cartilage and bone. And that one that you may not have heard yet tonight, or you've heard, but maybe tonight was your first night hearing it, was Hyaluronic Acid, which is, not only does it do that synovial fluid that's in there that lubricates, it does cartilage. So let's go to the next slide and keep going here on glucosamine sulfate. If you're between 35 and 74 years old, this is the most common thing that unites you in that group, and that's arthritis. Arthritis, you have company, people. You're not alone if you're over 60, over 50, or even over 40. All age groups are united by this one thing. 5 to 15% of your age mates in the Occidental world. Can you imagine how often you were sitting next to somebody in high school that had arthritis and you didn't know it? They've been managing it and you didn't know it. Glucosamine, though, is a natural compound found in healthy cartilage, particularly in the fluid around the joints. Now, glucosamine is just what it sounds like. What is glucose? This is a sugar protein molecule. Glucosamine sulfate is very safe and has been tried and used over and over instead of NSAIDs to relieve pain. Now, the more painful you are, usually the more effective it is, but that just means you've got more pain to remove. So I don't know if that makes any sense. Let's go to the next one. Chondroitin is one of those supplements that's sought after still to repair and build cartilage. Chondroitin is a natural substance found in the body. It's a major component of cartilage. And it's going to be used to rebuild connective tissue. So you have to have chondroitin to do this. Now, there was a Utah School of Medicine study recently. In fact, it was the largest study ever done, investigating the effects of chondroitin and glucosamine sulfate. There's the name of the study. They call it, in the medical world, they just call it the GAIT study, the GAIT study. Now, we're talking about a study that involved 500 to 1,500 milligrams of that a day. Let's go to the next slide and let's see what it says. It says some of these people received 1 of 5 treatments over the course of 6 months. 79% had a 20% or greater reduction in pain versus 54% of a placebo. So we're really talking about it does make a difference, in other words. It does make a difference. Now, if you say, gosh, 25% improvement is not much. Well, it is when you hurt. You'll take 1%, right? At least you're getting a little bit. So chondroitin and glucosamine actually worked more for people than the prescriptions did with 70% of the participants. So the over-the-counter or prescribed NSAID pain relievers, which have vicious consequences to the GI tract and some of the body, didn't do as well. All right, let's go to the next one. One of them that you usually see these three together, chondroitin sulfate, glucosamine sulfate with MSM. Now, sulfur is a donor that increases the rebuilding of all connective tissue. And it's really kind of an adjunct to a natural protocol, but it's just more nutrients. Just think of it that way. MSM is locating the area right there in that knee joint that it would be working on mostly to help you with your knee pain. So those are the three that often come together, and she should have some in the pot there, and she's going to pass some around and let you see what it looks like. I don't think they're open, but you can get an idea. Did you have the MSM, or were some of them combined?
I've got, well, and I just ripped off the hyaluronic acid.
Oh, that's all right.
Sure.
That's
I
all right.
don't have the chondroitin, I just had the glucosamine and MSM, but we've got glucosamine, chondroitin, and MSM. You can do glucosamine and chondroitin. Most of the time, you're not going to see chondroitin with MSM or chondroitin by itself. It's usually glucosamine or chondroitin, or the three together, or the glucosamine and the MSM.
This has chondroitin.
Yeah.
Plus chondroitin sulfate.
Yep.
So these are the nutrients that you need to have to rebuild this joint. I hope you don't mind if I sit down. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, and there's the hyaluronic acid that I
Woohoo! I think we're running off the, move it to your...
here.
Hyaluronic acid. By golly, how many have heard of hyaluronic? How many of you know about hyaluronic? A lot of you may not have heard about this. Hyaluronic acid. Now, I'm only talking about this thing in regard to joints, but this is kind of like King Kong all through the body. It does a lot of stuff. But comfortable joint movement depends on the presence of that synovial fluid we just talked about. Hyaluronic acid is the primary natural compound that is in this lubricant called synovial fluid. So hyaluronic acid is you want to go get a grease job on your joints? Hyaluronic acid, that's what you get, okay? Don't be surprised if it helps with some other things, because it does all kinds of stuff. It's produced by the body naturally, but if, like lots of things, we just can't get enough, or if we have some problems that have toxed us up or injured, this is the go-to. Why doctors don't say, okay, we're going to put you on hyaluronic acid after surgery so you'll heal up quicker, I don't know. But they don't know anything. There's how many classes do they have on this stuff? I mean, they probably know, well, a rep might tell them more than they know about it. Excuse me. I'll let him take that part out. Anyway, it's produced by the body. The greatest concentrations of hyaluronic acid is found in the skin, It's found in the joints like we were talking about. It's in your eye sockets to make them go woo woo without squeaking. That's a joke. And other tissues where it helps retain collagen, increase moisture, and provide elasticity and flexibility. If you've not tried it, try it. Go to the next one. You've got a little thing on it. You bet. She loves this. Go ahead. You go for it.
The first training that I had on hyaluronic acid was with liquid, and it was first used on racehorses. It was used on racehorses that were becoming lame, and they would use huge injections and put them into the joints and stuff to get them up and get them running again. And then they developed from there, obviously, like a human dose. But that's kind of where the whole thing started. That was the training.
So you got to poke it in your joint? No, you don't.
But I'm just saying. And you can run like a horse.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there you go.
There are other things that we're going to talk about now, and one of them is collagen. Now, you got a collagen thing there? Big old thing. What's it called?
The Great Lakes collagen, it's hydrolyzed collagen.
Hydrolyzed means what? Water absorbable. Okay? So, that's the president. That's right. I can tell by the ring that's the president. So. Collagen has gained notoriety for easing symptoms of osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. Collagen helps stall chronic inflammatory responses. It reduces pain, it stops, and it will slow down the progression of it. So that alone is worth it. It leads to the stopping of the degenerative joint issue. It provides an amino acid like glycine that strengthens the gut lining. Now, why would I talk about that when it comes to arthritis? Because your gut is responsible for giving you anti-inflammatory markers. If your gut's messed up, you might get arthritis. It could be that it's the source of your problem. Well, there's other kinds of inflammation too. But if you fix the gut, it's going to help you manage your arthritis. Glycine, or glycine I should say, is used to improve digestion, joint, cardiovascular, skin health, cognitive. Susan has one that she likes to take for her hair and her skins and nails. I think it's called Biosol. It's a collagen type product. And she goes, I've run out. Can you tell? No, I can't tell. Right answer, right? Okay, next one. Okay, let's talk about fish oils. EPA, DHA has nothing to do with the government. It's not the agencies of the government. It's part of the makeup of omega-3. And EPA, DHA fish oil decreases inflammation, and the studies have shown that it's more effective than ALA for several inflammatory markers. Do you know what ALA is, by the way?
Alpha-lipoic acid.
Right. Alpha-lipoic acid. I mean, it's used oftentimes for diabetics. It also increases some anti-inflammatory markers such as IL-10 and TGF-beta, these growth factors that help you stay young. Now, in my clinic, I actually give interleukin-10 in a bottle. Actually, I have an arthritis formula that I get to be mad scientist and combine a whole bunch of interleukin stuff together. It's slow working, And it takes a while, but it'll get stuff done. It just takes a while to turn that big boat around. And so interleukin therapy is what you're getting when you take EPA, DHA to a certain extent. Interleukins, what are they? Well, those are those things that go roaring with claws and try and scratch you and make you feel bad and inflame. Interleukins inflame you. Some interleukins uninflame you. So we want the ones that uninflame working for us, and that's IL-10, interleukin 10. Omega 3 acids decrease the progression of osteoarthritis. And they do this by various ways, but one of the things is by aberrant development of protein molecules into stuff that you don't want. Every cell in your body has been commanded by its creator to multiply and divide. I mean, multiply, divide, so they just grow, right? You're either growing or you're dead. That's just the only way it works. So what ends up happening is this little cheek cell right here making this tissue on my face says, can I make an ear? And my genetic code has to say, no. Can I make a nose? No. How about, can I make a fingernail? Can I make a knee? Can I make a toe? There's a lot of no's going on. And when it finally says, can I make a cheek skin tissue? Yes. Then what happens is when that gets out of balance and the nose quits telling it to stop, it grows. Oh, okay, go ahead, grow you another nose. Oh, how about another ear? Yeah, I'll go ahead, do another ear. How about a knee joint right here? Sure, we'll just put a knee right here, you know. They call that cancer. So we have to tell the body's desire, basic design built in to replicate and multiply to do it proper. And this helps it. EPA, DHE helps it. Fatty acids can decrease the symptoms of morning stiffness, swollen, stiff joints, joint pain, but it has other awesome things, circulatory stuff, and much, much more, which we won't get into tonight. I would have told you, a range, but just do 1,200 milligrams a day. Spread it over the day. If that's not enough, do more. When EPA, DHA, or fish oil actually works for you, it's like a light switch. It just goes, it wasn't working, click, now it is. Because of the dosage, and everybody's different. Let's go to the next one. Excuse me. Now we're going to do a botanical. This botanical is like a tonic. It's like, does lots of different things. Ashwaghandha. I like ashwagandha. You'll see it in tons of different things. But a new study conducted on this extract of this began in India when researchers at the Institute of Medical Sciences, at some place I can't pronounce, conducted a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled experiment on subjects with an average age of 58 years old, okay, who suffered from knee pain. Now they used two different amounts, 125 milligrams and 250 milligrams of ashwagandha twice a day. Researchers found both doses of the extract produced significant reduction in pain, no matter whether it was 125 or 250, but the higher dose showed a significantly better response. More therapeutic response appears to be dose-dependent, and it still is gastrointestinal disturbance-free. In fact, it helps your gut. If you take Advil, it's going to rip your gut to pieces. You're going to start bleeding if you've taken it too long. You're going to have IBS and develop that. But instead of doing that, how about curcumin ashwagandha and things like that combined with all these other things. Okay? Next one. Let's talk about homeopathics. Probably one of the very few places in this state where you're going to hear homeopathics is here. Homeopathics aren't taught much. They are extremely effective. When they're effective, they are effective. But let's talk about a few of the favorites people go to for joint pain, inflammation. Arnica is one of them. It's a go-to product. You might want to pass those little things around because they're very interesting. They come blended with other homeopathics at different strengths. We're going to talk about those. But arnica can come all by itself. Arnica comes all by itself. Do you have that little bitty bottle? Who's got that little? This.
Or no, the hypericus.
This right here might be, it could be arnica, but you have one strength and one homeopathic in here. Comes in little balls. And so, arnica comes that way. And let's talk about Russ Tox, or poison ivy. Yes, a homeopathic made of poison ivy. What happens when people get poison ivy? They blow up, they inflame, itch, swell. My first year, my son, I think I told you this already, but my son's first Boy Scout camp, I got a call. Your son got into poison ivy, come get him. I go, well, he's just itching, you know. When I got him, I didn't recognize him. He looked like a little Chinaman. His face is all puffed up and his eyes were slanty and he was a mess. I go, yeah, I'm glad you called me. This is terrible. So what did I do? 2 weeks before the next year, I put him on Russ Tox. Did all the same stuff. Actually did more, because he got accepted into a real Indian tribe that year and had to go out in the woods with hardly any clothes on. So he was really exposed to the poison ivy that time. He didn't get it at all. Next slide. So let's look at Russ Tox. Let's look at a case here. There was a 57-year-old woman complaining of arthritis in her hands and knees. Her left knee was so severe, her doctor recommended knee replacement. Like me. Here in Mountain Home, less than a year ago, at the Knox orthopedic place. Look at my knee, take a picture, will you? Something's wrong, I can't hardly walk. He comes in and he says, bone on bone, you need knee replacement. I go, uh-oh, and I was really bad. It was bad. But I didn't do surgery. I don't have my brace on now. I'm just one of the lucky few. I really went all the way back now. I haven't run a marathon, and I haven't gone out walking in clotted dirt fields to know whether or not it'll twist or anything. I'm just happy I'm not hurting to do normal stuff. At night, her joints became so stiff and burned with pain to the point that they woke her. Her worst fear was not death, it was getting crippled because she was by herself. So this homeopathic doctor, by the way, I'm a homeopathic doctor, I'm a naturopathic doctor, I'm a master herbalist, and I'm a European biological medicine doctor. So you kind of get that all in one little box. Well, not so little box. Anyway, what this homeopathic doctor gave her, being more classic, was Russ Tox at 200C. That's the potency. Now, I can tell you 200C is not 12X for mild, acute reactions of getting into poison ivy. It's deeper. Next slide. On her first follow-up, here's what happened. When she took the remedy, she had burning pains in her joints. that increased but subsided after a few hours, but they allowed her to have at least a calm and peaceful sleep even after the flare-up. What that's called is a healing crisis. Her joints were now more flexible. Her knee still hurt, and it hurt at night. So the homeopath at that visit then said, okay, we're going to Russ Tox 1M, even deeper, more potent. The next visit, after taking this remedy, the patient contracted a very severe cold and fever. Why? Because the arthritis is an autoimmune condition. It has to do with your immune system. When you take Russ Tox, you're telling the immune system, go for it. So it's attacking something. Well, let's just hope it doesn't attack your knee, but it gave that person symptoms of a cold. Anyway, the cold lasted 3 days. She used to suffer from constant sciatic pain, but now it only bothers her for half a day. Her joint pain had also lessened from a scale of 10 to 5 on a 1 to 10 scale. So the next recommendation was stay on it and let's wait and see what happens. So let's go to the next one. At the third follow-up, the burning pain in her knee had returned, but it didn't interfere. Oh, we've got to go to the next one.
All the way?
Yeah. Well, no, go back. I'm sorry. You're right. I did a little overlap. But her digestion was also better. She took some probiotics to avoid constipation. You know what's going on? She started dumping. She started cleaning out, and it just constipated her. Anyway, the remedy then on the fourth follow-up was all of the patient's joints and knee pains are gone finally. That's where I wanted to get to. Outside of something for her digestive tract, she used just homeopathics. She climbs up and down stairs to make sure there's no problems with her knee joints, because the more active she is now, the better she feels. There is a point, though, when if you are slightly inflamed and hurting, if you'll move around, you'll be better. There comes a time when moving is damaging. So she's past that. And during the last 4 weeks, she didn't have any pain except for a brief electric pain going through her knee on two or three occasions. Well, I'd say that's pretty good. So that's Russ Tox. Let's go some more here. Here are some more homeopathics. You take your time. You can write them down. I'll go slow. Some of these are in that blend. Where's that box, that homeopathic box? Right there on the table. Right there, I think. Is that it? Yeah, that has a blend. On the back, if you'll read the back, it has several different kinds of homeopathics. Some of those are these, but there's some up here that are not on it. And that's what's nice about homeopathic blends. They're more broad spectrum acting, so they'll make sure they'll cover everything. But let's talk about bryonia. It's a great arthritic remedy for pain and inflammation. Ledum Pal is a really good one too. It's arthritis remedy, but it's more for gout and ascending arthritis, or rheumatism. And it works best by cold application. You might want to know what's that. Well, you can take it if you get one of the. If you get the pills, that's great. They're easy to handle. You don't have to worry about breaking anything and getting fluid all over something. It's not going to ruin anything unless there's alcohol and it might do something. But what's nice about the liquid is you can put it topically right on the area you're having pain with. And if you make it cold, it works real well. Russ Tox we talked about. First, for pain by first movement, damp weather, stuff like that. So Really, even though it really works well, it's probably not the crown glory of arthritis remedies, but it can do some really good stuff. Calicum for pain made worse by motion. That is not mild osteoarthritis is made better by motion. It's mostly for gout pain, gouty pain. Calmia lot, well-known arthritis for descending or pain with heart palpitations and slow pulse. Your homeopathic knows what that means, though. If your heart beats slow, or if you're maybe having heart palpitations, you might want to try this if you're having swelling. Let's go to another one. We've got some more of these. This first one, I can't ever say it. I just call it Gaia cum. I know that's not how it is, but it looks close, so. It's for gouty abscesses of joints. So if you have one of those roaring red toes, vicious pain, don't put the sheet on it. You can't touch, you know. If it does it enough, you're going to get an abscess. This would be what you could use. Okay. Calcarea, carb, arthritic swelling, knee pain, made worse by cold. Okay, fleshy people. Do you know what fleshy people is? If you're overweight, you might be a little more fleshy, right? Benzoic acid for gouty concentrations, actually, of joints. I don't know why it's in there, it's misspelled. Knee pain caused by abnormal deposition of uric acid. Uric acid is the bad boy for gout. So this is also a good one for gout. Hypericum, which she just mentioned, is great. It's great. For rheumatoid arthritis, it even helps with nerve pain and the nerve damage. So don't really overlook that little shelf in the health food stores when you are getting your curcumin. Try some homeopathics too. They're cheap, I think.
Yeah, they're seven for those little blue tubes. They're like $7.
$7, $8. I'd call that worth trying, don't you? I mean, you never know. Give it a couple months. Homeopathics are worth to try. Now, in the meantime, there are many, many other things that you can do, but now we're going to talk about something that I think is going to surprise you. One of the things we talked about was how to nourish, right? And that's what we did, and the homeopathics are just they're not a nourishment, they're a medicine. They're medicine, natural medicine. No homeopathic that I know of really causes too many really deadly, well, I've never heard of anybody dying of homeopathic. I just never heard of it. It's not even on a record. I could drink the whole bottle of stuff and it won't do anything.
My mother, when I was growing up, used to give us what she called cell salts. That's what
Homeopathic is a cell salt.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
It sounds like
Yeah.
Homeopathics are also the only thing that are regulated by the FDA. So they can make claims on all the labels.
Regulated, everything's regulated by the FDA supplement-wise. What she means by that is claims are regulated.
So when you read that box of the arthritis care, it can say drug facts as opposed to nutrient or supplement.
So it can be saying for arthritis, for angina, for, it can do all those. Okay. Next one. Now we're going to talk about something. We're going to talk about what's causing you inflammation. All right, folks, here's it. Here's the list. What's causing you to inflame? It's what you're putting in your mouth now. Look at that. Look at that. Wheat, barley, Rye. Oh no, oats isn't inflaming meat. Yes, it is. Fried food, oils, olive oil. I thought that was good for you. I thought coconut oil. Look, trust me on this. Trust me on all this. Stay away from these and watch inflammation go away. Period.
So get your oils from your fish oil.
Make well done red meat not well done. In other words, there's an acid that it produces. Stay away from nitrates. The skins of baked potatoes, yams, sweet potatoes. I don't say drink a carbonated drink anytime, but some people do. If you do, don't do it with a meal. It'll inflame you.
Is it just the skin of the potatoes or is it the flesh?
The skin. Wheat, barley, rye, oats damages cell in the intestinal walls. At certain levels, some people more, some people less. Yeah.
On the carbonated drinks, does that mean even healthy ones?
Yeah, Perrier is a carbonated drink. It bubbles. It's anything like that that bubbles, carbon, you can't drink it. I mean, you might be thinking you're drinking a really, really healthy health food thing, you know.
So this would be a no-no.
Yeah, don't do it while you're eating. Yeah, anything that fizzes and stuff, don't do it. No, don't.
Is it just the skin of the sweet potato?
Yes, just the skins of all of them. Now, this damage, pardon?
What's in the skins, those?
The skin of the potatoes, being a tuber, hits a receptor in the cell walls on certain spots in the intestines and causes an inflammatory reaction. I test for those genetic markers in my clinic, and some people are really bad. Some have partial defects, some have full defects. Sometimes I can chase down inflammation problems through these genetic tests, and we just go around it. Now I'm going to give you a cheater. Up there you see asterisked wheat, barley, rye, oats. The caveat number one is oats itself is not gluten. But I bet you've never bought gluten-free oats because it's like $8 a pound. Do you know why? Because it's grown right next to wheat. When they harvest it and put it in the boxes at Quaker Oats, it's cross-contaminated with wheat, and so you have gluten. So unless you get gluten-free oats at $8 a pound, you're not getting oats that you can eat. So that's why I have a little asterisk on them. Wheat, barley, rye. Of course, wheat's the most offensive. Yes?
But if you don't have a gluten-free problem,
You do have a gluten-free problem. If you are an Anglo-Saxon, 40% of the Anglo-Saxon race inflames to a symptom level. All of us inflame to a certain level. Let me give you an example of a different food. How many of you have gone to the Mexican restaurant and you've ate one of those peppers and your eyes water? Do you know what that is? That's a histamine response. That's inflammation. Your eyes are watering, but your gut's hating your guts. What are you doing this to me for? That's what it does to you. It inflames you, but you just don't see symptoms of it. But I'm going to give you a cheater pill that you can take when you do breads. It's an enzyme. I bet they don't have it here. It's called glutarase. Glut, G-L-U-T, E-R-A-S-E. It's glutarase. It will get rid of the gluten factor about 99.9% of the time if you take it at the same time. Please don't do it on a regular basis just so that you can eat the pizza or send your kid out the door to the pizza party. That's what it's for. I'm going out to have dinner. I think I'm going to probably run into it. My kid's going to a pizza party. I don't want to have to tell them they can't go and eat pizza. Here, honey, take your glutarase before you go.
Is it in the glutamines that we have?
Pardon?
Is it in the glutamines that we have, the enzymatica?
No, no, no. The gluten ease is a different approach. Glutarase, by the way, is just brand new. So, brand new, yeah.
So the organic oats are still,
If they're not gluten-free, they're still they're contaminated.
wow.
Yeah.
And with the wheat, even if you grind your own, that doesn't make any difference at all? Grind
No,
your
no,
own
no.
wheat?
The gluten's still in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, if you buy Roundup-free wheat, it's real expensive, you know. GMO-free wheat, all real expensive. The most important thing is, if you're being inflamed, just get rid of breads. Just get rid of them. Just forget it. That's tough. Look at our world. We went from meat on our plate with vegetables to a sandwich. And here we go. But 50 years ago even, I looked under a microscope of a wheat cell 50 years ago, compared it to the modern wheat cell. They're dramatically different. Extremely different. I couldn't believe it, even what I was seeing, and I didn't even know what I was looking at. They didn't even look the same, but they were both wheat. They've been messed up really bad. So what we put into our mouths is going to inflame our gut. And when it inflames our gut, it's going to inflame our body. And I have that problem. Every once in a while, I go, I'm going to get me some hummus and some crackers. And I look at the crackers, okay, these look okay, and hummus, and okay. And I don't check the hummus, thinking, all hummus is the same. Not all hummus is the same. They'll put something in there. And I tell you, all of us are struggling every day just to find good food. And when you find that perfect blend of food, and it may be 2 or 3 meats and a few vegetables, you always go back to it because you feel so much better. But there are some remedies like glutarase, enzymes, so forth, to help you digest the fats, the carbs, the cellulose, and so forth, and it makes life a lot better.
What's the story of the oil?
Oils.
All oils?
All oils inflame you. See, this is what has everybody, I don't get this. You may not think they're inflaming you, but they do. You may not have a symptom, but it's 5 to 25% of your inflammatory problem. And if you're saved all your life to retire and you have a pot of money, you did it by adding 5% at a time, a little bit here, a little bit there. So fixing health isn't one big silver bullet. It's learning the 5%, 10% fixes that take inflammation that you don't think you've got down. What? What's that?
Does butter replace oil?
Good question. I'll find out. It's an oil. Yeah. There are better and worse oils. But oils, I don't even, if somebody's coming to me and they're doing lard, I'll have them feeling so good. They won't like what they eat maybe, but they'll feel a lot better. People that eat lard.
How do you use lard?
I mean lard. Well, first of all, what's it say up there? No fried food.
But using lard as in replace of oil.
No. What are you doing when you put lard in the pan to use it instead of oil?
It melts and turns into oil.
Yeah, it turns into the same stuff.
But
So
you can't have your wheat because then you can't have your biscuits.
it's a mess, isn't it? Isn't this a mess? Isn't this a mess? One caveat that I need to tell you before you leave. How many of you think the paleo diet's great? It is, right? Susan fell over the other day when we were watching a training video, and the caveat was with the paleo is paleo can complicate certain conditions. Here they are: arthritis, hormonal cancer. Believe it or not. Because you're not getting enough of the things the paleo leaves out. I love to create the controversy. Maybe it'll inspire you to go dig and find out what to do. Now you have to go find out how to eat right. I do too. I have to really work on it. So I get my salmon. I make sure it's not from the West Coast in the Pacific. Fukushima salmon right now is all over the place. You don't want that. That's what we call it. You know, the Fukushima nuclear reactors in Japan that got hit, they've made it over to our California coast, up into Alaska. The Alaska salmon's all messed up from it now. But there's some Scottish salmon up these fords over in Scotland where the trout come in from open waters. They're wild, they come up to spawn, and then when they get up there, they drop a net back behind them and catch them. And they're real clean. And yeah, you can get it at Harps. So once you find the kind of food you're after and you figure it out, it starts limiting you when you're in this town. But Azure, A-Z-U-R-E, has foods you can trust. It's a co-op or they'll mail to you. They have trucks that come in the area with fresh produce from organically grown areas. And they're all over the country. Yeah.
Here you are, bad mouth the Pacific salmon, and then at the same time, they say don't eat the Atlantic salmon because of the mercury.
Yeah, the mercury down in the Gulf area mainly.
Well, I hear
Yeah,
Canada.
Yeah, on the Canadian side because of the current coming up from the Gulf. And yeah. So what you got to do is you got to get up there in that North Atlantic where it's coming up, going by the the eastern side of the North America, and then it turns and comes down. You're up north, up there in that real rough water where the Atlantic guys go do that lobster stuff that's real dangerous. Fishing. Yeah.
You mentioned that some of the dangers with the paleo diet. What about the ketogenic diet?
Same. Yeah. I hope I didn't, let's go to the last slide. I hope I didn't wear you out tonight. Thanks for coming. It's been my pleasure to be with you. If you have any questions, just ask me before you leave. The register is open if you'd like anything at all. Okay? Oh, algae oil? Never heard of that one.